square in my corner, just like that.
Yep.
Boom. We're live. Do you know what I was going to do? I was going to do a countdown, but I guess that's out the window because we're live right now. So I'll go to Facebook and share it. And while I share it, and then I'll let you know when it's on my personal page, and I'll tag you in it. Okay, Mark?
Yeah, sounds good.
And then while I do that, do you want to tell everybody about you? Ladies and gentlemen, my buddy Mark, who sadly sacrificed half of its beard. So a moment of silence. No, I need to do the same, dude, because my stuff's getting out of hand. But let everybody know where you're at, what you do, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, so Mark Connolly. I'm in Vail, North Carolina, which is the western part of the state, about an hour west of Charlotte, kind of between Charlotte and Asheville. It's a pretty big state. So been down here. We've been in business for, I guess, 28, 29 years, my wife and I, and we've always been in this area. And our business name is Canine Command. Basically, 99.9% of what we do is helping people with their pet dogs with obedience, behavior issues and stuff. We used to do a lot of law enforcement training and stuff, but now we just focus on the family dog. And yeah, I'm just married, got 2 kids, and let's see, we got 6 dogs currently, and just living the dream as best I can, enjoying what I do, and just happy to be here and chat with you, Bill.
Yeah, this is a long time coming, and I just tagged you in it, just so you know.
Okay.
We've been talking a couple of years on doing this, and I look back at our messages, and yeah, I'm glad that we can finally make this happen. And you know, I love that we are both. Would you consider yourself a Keeler trainer, or what would you consider yourself? I mean, I definitely bow a lot of my. I consider myself a Keeler trainer. I don't put all my eggs into one camp, but I use a lot of the stuff I learned from Tony and the Keeler methodology.
Yeah, I don't like to put like a label on myself, but I do not deny or shy away from the fact that a large amount of what I do is Keeler based training, and I enjoy it greatly. And you know, like, I can go down a whole big hole when we talk about this, but you know as well as I do that most people, when they hear that name, it's associated with, the problem solving chapter, and it's associated with a whole bunch of misconceptions about the training. Absolutely. And I know that you learned how to do it correctly, and as did I. But prior to me learning how to do it correctly, I never really understood what the Keeler method of dog training was. I had read the book back in the 90s when I first got started. And, I applied a lot of that stuff, but I did.
You're just jealous, dude.
Yeah, he is jealous. His wife makes him shave his off. I know she does. No, I applied. I like to tell people I used to do like a bastardized version of Keeler.
Okay.
You didn't do the long line work. You didn't really think about the dog. You just thought about just getting the result and yanking and cranking on the dog. And I did what everybody else did. And most of the trainers in the 80s and 90s and stuff, that's what they were doing. And my mentor, he taught me just a crap version of that. But it got me a start. It got me a start in dog training. And it was years later when my evolution as a dog trainer began, and I started looking outside of what I had originally learned, but it was literally, oh gosh, man, it's probably been definitely over 20 years into my career before I decided to take a course with Tony Anchetta. And wow, well, let's give this a shot, because I had seen some people working Keeler method of dog training, and I was very intrigued by it. I was like, man, this is nothing like I was ever shown,
Me too.
And learned from Tony. I consider him, a mentor in the later part of my career. And just really fell in love with the method and the approach to it, the time that it takes, slowing things down. Really
discernment, readiness tests.
Yeah.
Right. And just like letting, and not only that, but the part that's for the human being and then the part that's for the animal is clearly explained. Right.
That was the thing. Yeah. So I've always felt like I was a pretty good dog trainer, and I always felt like I was pretty good at coaching people, but I never really put myself as like a system trainer. Like, this is the system that I follow. I picked up so many different pieces through the years. And what happened was it's all in here, and it's all in what I see and how I react to the dog.
Totally.
And, if you talk to most dog trainers, that's the way you should be, right? It's about the dog that's in front of you and all that kind of stuff. I don't disagree with that, but that's hard to coach. That's extremely
hard to legislate. That's what Fred Hassan says. It's hard to legislate, and that's what I'm just like, hey, dude, that's a good term for that, man.
Yeah. So I found that by me becoming a student again of Tony, I was like, man, I just follow the steps and let him coach me on the things that I'm doing wrong so I can clean that stuff up. And, I think I've gone through his class like 4 times with 4 different dogs, and I learned something new every time. And it put me in a position where it changed my outlook on how I coach people. I still do all kinds of I still use food in training. I still use toys in training. I still do e-collars. I still do all that other stuff.
Me too.
But it changed a lot of stuff that I do. My group, I never had group classes. Once I learned that method, I started doing group classes. And it changed my board and trains drastically. But we still do a lot of stuff. So I can't really say that I'm a Keeler trainer.
Right.
But it's definitely heavy in what I do.
Right. And it's a great, excellent resource. If I knew that stuff when I was a beginner trainer, man, and that's why I'm kind of sending people. And I've been talking to Tony for years too, but I've been actually stalking him lately. He just had a litter of French bulldogs. So he's taking care of puppies, but he's coming on here. And he needs to come on here. He needs to.
Yes.
I need to talk with him about what I've learned. And it's funny because I've gone through it multiple times too, because I wanted a better understanding. And there was just these dogs that I had problems with, man, like boxers and pitties, like super reactive, like game breeds, especially, that would climb the line or react a way that I was like intimidated by. And I wanted to figure out how to speak to these dogs that I wouldn't have to go over the top. Right. And get control of, because I didn't like it. And I knew that wasn't the way with every dog. It was the way with some dogs, even today. Right. There's some cases that needs to be met head on. And there's some dogs that I need to have what I call a come to Jesus with. Yeah. Right. Where they need to know, dude, that shit stops today. I'm not your guy to mess with. And it's not about, it's a calm confidence, very matter of fact type of energy. Right.
Yeah.
But besides that, and that's what intrigued me so much about getting into Tony's courses, like they don't turn any dogs away. Right.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how do I do that?
Well, what, one of the things that I commonly hear when you associate things with, say, Keeler training is, well, that's fine for some dogs, but that's not going to work for all dogs. Or one method of dog training is not going to work for all dogs. I kind of disagree with that. It's not necessarily that it's the method, but it's the application that you apply to that particular dog that varies from dog to dog. Yes. You have to temper things down. You have to slow things down. You may have to spend more time on a certain phase of training with one dog than you would another. But I've not found a dog yet that I have that I can't train through the method if I was to desire to. And that kind of, one of the things that kind of inspired me into doing a lot more of that, especially with my board and trains, was you get a dog in for a board and train and say you were going to try and use a lot of positive reinforcement with food and stuff, try and build some engagement like we all like to do. And that dog's so stressed out the whole first week. I'm not going to starve a dog into training. And that dog doesn't have any interest in food. There's too much fear going on. And, what I discovered was my best friend was going out on that long line and just, working that first week where there's no conflict.
Mhm.
I'm
The
not
dog has
coaching.
enough space to navigate, has
Yeah,
ample
I'm not coach.
space.
Yeah, you're not coaxing the dog along.
No.
You're not trying to coddle them or coax them. You're not trying to bribe them with food. You're not trying to get them to play with toys that they have no interest in because they're too stressed out. You're just taking your time and you're building up that trust and that attention that you're looking for with the long line. And then by the time you get through that, you're ready to move on, regardless of what the dog's primary motivation may be.
Yeah, it gives them that time to adjust
Yeah.
and discern. And not only that, but if they don't have that time, then we keep at it. Right. And that's where I was like blown away by these readiness tests. Like you do a test for this dog to make sure that they are picking up the information that we're putting down and that they're actually ready for the next step here. Right.
Yeah.
Where a lot of times we didn't have that. We would just go, just blast through it. And with some dogs might be taking 4 days where they're ready for that next step. And, you know, where it's typical is 7 days. And some dogs are at 12 days. Right. And it's just like, and that's what's crucial about that readiness test. And where I can check in with my clients and let them know, hey, keep working at this,
Yep.
you know, or you're not getting it at all. Right.
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah.
right. A lot of them have a misconception. They're just waiting for that dog to hit it so they can ping them.
Mm-hmm.
They'll sneak away. Like there's a lot of different aspects of that long line work that are important to understand the why behind it. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, you don't move on till you're ready. So, you know, the plan may call for, 6 days a week of training and then you do your readiness test. But, there's times when I have a dog in for, say, a board and train and we don't move on to off of the long line for 10, 11, 12 days,
Yeah.
And if I rush out of that phase when the dog's not ready, then I'm going to pay for it in the next phases because the dog, then I have to be more. I don't want to put myself in a situation where I feel like I'm being punitive to the dog. I would rather the dog have a better grasp of having attention on me without having to put more force into training than I need to.
Absolutely. I mean, and that it all boils down to that trust too, and when you're rushing through something, and let me show people. So I found when was this? November 2015 is when I found this one, but I found a readiness test that I sent to Tony here.
I remember when I went through the course the first time, I think you had gone through it before me. And I remember watching some of your YouTube videos of you doing readiness tests. Yeah.
After going through the class so many times and I got it, and Tony was like, hey man, do you mind if I use some of your videos? Bro, my heart.
Yeah.
I was just like, yes, absolutely. Like I was honored, and then people come out of his class and they say that they see, the videos that I've submitted, such as, I think this is one of them. And so
so maybe that's where I had seen him, where he shared them. There's probably the case.
Yeah. Can you guys see the screen?
I can see it fine.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's great.
A couple things to pay attention to. Like this dog was like, I wanted her kryptonite, right? And tennis balls was it, dude. She'd lose her freaking mind. And so, of course, I just kind of noticed that my wife has multiple tennis balls there.
Yep.
And then watch the dog, man. Like the dog is alert and attentive, but as soon as I turn, watch me turn around. Watch that dog. That is what we're teaching. That's it. She passed this. This is a passing.
Absolutely. I mean, it's in the face of a competing motivator, the dog he discovers that it's more motivated for its own comfort to pay attention to you.
What's up, Johnny? We got everybody joining us. Everybody say hi, share. Yeah, and not only that, it's like I don't want robot dogs. I want dogs to be present in the world with me. I don't want a dog, like I've seen it, you guys, and this is how I see dogs that have been hammered on. They'll see something come into their environment and then they shut down or they look away or it's an avoidance. It's like it's not finished, in my opinion, because it's still in that, I don't know, that reactionary modality with that dog. Does that make sense, Mark?
Yeah, no, it does. Yeah.
And so I want my dog to be like, there's something there, but my guy's right here, my handler's right here. So He's not interested. I'm not interested in it. So, and that's basically it. That's how she passed, right? Let's see. Your beard's looking pretty unkempt. Nice.
Now, hey, if I was on here, for those that don't know me or whatever, but if I was on here a week ago, we would have both had our beard all over the place. Like now I'm sitting here insulting you, saying your beard's all over the place.
Yeah, totally.
But mine was
Mark's an overachiever, you guys. Mark's an overachiever. Just kidding. We got Billy's. Oh, dude, one of my Patreon subscribers here, you guys. So Patreon, check me out. I actually hired your patreon.com/bowwowbills. I hired a production company. It's going to be like freaking like almost 10 grand per episode of what I want to create.
Whoa.
Yeah, so I got to do a lot of it in-house. So I want to be doing it myself, but I need money. So guys, help me out.
Yeah.
like if you like what I'm doing, but I'm going to travel around and I want to go to rescues. I want to go to training facilities. I want to go to doggy daycares, doggy gyms, and just highlight them, and nonprofits, people that are doing good in the dog world, Napopo school. Go down to see Tony for sure. Go see Fred Hassan for sure. He's doing some good things with what he's doing. And just like boots on the ground, and just like let people see how we interact. And but that's next level. And Billy's one of my my Patreon subscribers right now. So thank you very much, Billy on. And then Dawn, my wife, your beard. So well groomed. She just told me, dude, before we even went live, that I need to talk to a guy tomorrow about grooming my beard. So this is the universe just telling me all the love. So long line work. And then we were talking about the readiness test. We just showed the readiness test, competing motivators. The dog discerns, makes the right choice, and comes with you.
Yeah. It's a pretty simple concept, but it's a simple concept, but as you know, when you're teaching other people, they don't always understand that simple concept, and they can make a lot of errors in it, but yeah, we get it right before we move on. So,
well, and not only that, but I like the fact that emphatic corrections too, man. Like the dog hits the end of this freaking line, and I'm like, yes. You know why? You know why? Because, well, why do you think I'm like that, Mark?
Well, I don't want to put words in your mouth on that, but it's the dog's decision. The dog made the choice, and you're not doing anything. You're trying to not be connected to that correction.
That's right.
In other words, when the dog feels the end of the line and the dog hits the end of the line, it has to go the other way. It's physics. So it turns around. Your back's turned to it and you're going in the other direction. And the dog's like, oh crap, something must be going on over there. Over there was uncomfortable. Something must be going on over there. And now they're over there with you. And they're just like looking up at you like, maybe I'll pay attention to you a little bit more. We say, then you try it again. And you notice that dog hesitates and says, you know what? That wasn't the smart choice last time. I mean, to me, it's not about being hard on a dog. It's about presenting a dog with consequences.
That's right.
And we're putting the dog in a situation where they're learning from their own consequences. We're doing it on a 15-foot or 20-foot long line versus the dog being very connected to us on a short leash, where any kind of hard turn or anything you do on a dog on a very short leash is very connected to you. That dog's going to, in its peripheral vision and stuff, is going to see you and see what you're doing when you're very close to it. But this allows the dog to start thinking on its own and realizing what it needs to be doing.
And those that are just joining us, we're talking about long line work, 15-foot long line work, and it's kind of the foundational, like the beginning step to the foundational work, and especially in the Keeler method. I'm sure that other methodologies, but I mean, it's crucial. It's crucial in my opinion, and especially for anybody that says that their dog pulls on a leash. I'm like, you try long line work?
Yeah.
Right? Because that teaches the dog to be aware. Now, a lot of times when we go from the long line work and then we go down to the 6-foot line, the person takes the line. Here, I got one right here. And then they'll take the line. I got it all looped up in itself here. and they grab it with one hand and then they grab it with the other hand, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I have to go over and smack that.
Yeah. One of my repeat students, Jennifer Ryan, on here. You can see her comment on here. You can put that up
hey,
there.
Jennifer.
If you want. So she's taken 4 dogs through
Awesome.
Keeler group classes with us, and she's done a great job, and she continues to train. And but I'm going to tell her story. She knows what I'm getting ready to tell.
She's laughing already.
Yeah, so I tell this to all of my students in every class, whether she's in the class or not, is I make them do homework videos, right? And so they're submitting their homework videos to me, and I'm always critiquing them. Hey, get your left hand off the leash, because I'm trying to get them to understand we're teaching the dog to be responsible for the position that we want it in, not us being responsible for keeping them there physically.
Managing.
And so I want that left hand off the leash, and it's all about your body and your turns and your legs. And she kept putting her hand on the leash. I think this was like the first dog she had done. So, and I kept pointing it out. And one day she put up a homework video, and she had a beer in her left hand. And so she's heeling around, and she put a bottle of beer in her hand. And I was like, hey, whatever you got to do to keep yourself occupied. And now when I tell that story to people, I'll have people turn in homework videos, and they'll have their left hand in their back pocket or something, because they're subconsciously trying to not have me critique them. So
that's good though, man, because that is a huge thing, right? Because and I mean, if you think about it, this long line is dragging below the dog, right? And left-handed beverage. But yeah, there you go. Then you can learn ambidextrous beverage tilts too. Yep. So you train the dog, train yourself, right?
Exactly.
But the reason why is because like this dog is used to having a loose leash. And once this leash starts to get, from here, it starts to get like this, that dog is looking around, wondering where that correction is coming from, or wondering where the heck we are. Because that leash is getting tight again, right? So
the way I always tell people is, I'm like, as soon as I start seeing it on week 2, and I'm like, you're erasing what you've established for week 1, and now what you're doing is you're going back to trying to control this dog and keep it from pulling. Old habits. So it's a human thing. It's extremely hard for people to let go of control and allow the dog to learn to control themselves.
That's right. But once you do, it's a beautiful thing.
It is.
And not only that, but then when we get to the second step, which is, and I tell people this is a very monotonous step. And I mean, I hate to, we can talk as long as you want, but I want to talk about this stuff, and I wanted to talk about it with you because I know that you're good at this, and we've known Tony, but the second step is called the automatic sit and corrective turns, where we really focus on the automatic sit for step 2, and then we really focus on the corrective turns once we get into step 3, right? Once that dog kind of gets it. And repetition is the mother of learning. And I tell my clients, my good clients do this 25 times a walk. My excellent clients do it 100 times a walk.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's one of the beauties of the method is the amount of repetitions that we don't just say, hey, go out and practice with your dog for 10 or 15 minutes and you're good. We actually tell them what we want them to do, how many repetitions we want them to do, and then how to proceed every couple of days to the next phase.
We are talking Keeler. Yep. And that's what Jennifer says. And you guys, Keeler spelled like this. So a lot of people think it's Kohler.
It's not a toilet.
No, but a lot of people didn't realize what I was talking about.
Yeah.
And they were like, is this a Keeler? And so Keeler, Bill. So let's do a quick Bill Keeler. How did he start training dogs, man? Like I know he did.
Military, I think it first started with him was he learned in the military.
That's right.
I think, so much of it passed down from like Conrad Most, and it just kind of passed down to a bunch of different people like Carl Spitz and Joseph Weber and a whole lot of people that sort of fell underneath that umbrella of like the World War I dog trainers. Right. And then it just sort of fell out and then it spread. And I think Bill Keeler kind of fell into that generation. And I could be completely wrong on this. I mean, Tony will definitely correct me if I am, because he's such a historian on this stuff. But
I can't
you
wait
know,
to
and
have
then
him on.
Bill was I think he was the training director for Orange. I think it was Orange County Kennel Club out in California, and just sort of built everything up from there. And then he got, contracted with Hollywood to do Disney movies and, all that kind of stuff. So, of course, it got carried on by his son and then other trainers like Tony.
Yeah. And it's still running today.
Yep.
And I don't know. I mean, I hope so. I hope it keeps on carrying the torch. I mean, it's invaluable, I believe. And it's something that I highly recommend for everybody, to get a hold of Tony. I don't know if he's doing the classes. I haven't heard. I'm sure we'll find out when I talk to him.
Yeah, he still is. He's still doing the online courses and doing open courses and stuff like that. So he's still staying pretty active, as far as I know, with all that.
So, dude, what started you training with dogs? I never asked that.
Oh man, I had no ambition in life. No, like I literally was one of those kids. Not knocking my parents. My parents were very blue collar, hardworking people. They were always working, and my dad worked like 70, 80 hours a week. And they never really, rode my butt about schoolwork, or at least if they tried, I was too rebellious. I was not a good student in school. So I wound up having zero interest in ever going to college, zero interest in that at all. And, just really had no idea what I was going to do with my life. You know what I mean? I was like, guidance counselors hated me. They pretty much talked down to me. They told me I was going to be driving a trash truck and stuff like that. I didn't want to take SATs. I didn't want to do anything because I felt like it was a waste of my time, because I just didn't have any drive to do anything, well, just kind of skipping from there, I got out of high school and I worked in the whole hotel industry for a number of years, and made it into management. Wound up taking some community college classes for hotel and restaurant management. And I hated school. I hated it, man. I took a couple of classes and I just stopped showing up. I was like, you can keep my money. I'm not coming. And I realized that wasn't for me. At the time, I had a girlfriend at the time. This is when I lived up north. And we got this chocolate lab puppy together, and this was probably in 1993. I'm going to guess somewhere around there. And a PetSmart had just opened up in our little town, and I had never heard of PetSmart before. Like, it was a brand new franchise. Like, nobody knew what it was, right? So they opened up, and it was like the coolest thing. Go down here to this big pet store. We found out they were doing group classes. We're like, all right, well, let's enroll this dog into a group class. I take the dog down there. Now, if you remember back then, PetSmart group classes weren't run by PetSmart. They were run by contracted trainers from outside. So it wasn't under their, it was completely different. I mean, it was just a completely different, more balanced approach to training. And the guy that was running the class had his own business. He's still a dog trainer to this day. And I don't know, man, I was kind of enamored with him. He had this really nice black Ford Bronco. It's had his logo on the outside of it. He had this really nice German Shepherd. And that German Shepherd would just do a down stay in the middle of the class while all these wild dogs were around training. And it just I was like, dude, I want to be this guy. You know what I mean? Yeah. And
it's funny how the dog, that's how I found Keeler, dude. It was the dog. I would look at these dogs and I'm like, how is this dog so calm and collected?
Yeah, how is this dog so calm and collected? And while these dogs were going crazy. And I remember asking him one time, I was like, man, how do I become a dog trainer? So that's how I got my start. I just went to the class and I asked, how do I become a dog trainer? And he said, well, come to my next group class and sit in and watch some of it. And I did. And then I kept asking him and kept bugging him. And this is a while ago. This is pre-internet, and he's like, well, there's a couple of schools around the country that offer it. And he's like, here. He opened up a Dog World magazine and opened up to the back of it where all the ads were. And there was the Tom Rose School. There was National Canine, which had pretty much just opened up. And then there was West Virginia Canine College. And I sent off, I got brochures because they didn't have websites. So I sent off and they mailed me like school catalogs. And
that's so crazy.
I wound up making about a 10-hour drive to West Virginia from Massachusetts and visited for a weekend. I went and visited that school. It was the first one I visited. And I loved where it was. It was in the middle of nowhere in the mountains. And it was, at the time, it was police dog heavy, I would say, as far as the training goes, which as
German
a young
Shepherds
guy, as a young guy, I was like blown away. I was like, yeah, man, this is where I want to go. This is tough. This is cool, you know? Yep. And I never wound up even really pursuing the other schools and visiting them. So I went there and I was there for 3 months. And that was in the fall, winter of 1994. And my wife, Amy, was a student in the class as well. I think there might have been like 12 or 15 students in the class. And within a couple of weeks, we had a relationship, and we've been together ever since that. Ever since we met at school. As a matter of fact, I pulled up to the school the night I drove up. Never driven that far away from my family, you know. I drove up, and she was sitting on the front stairs of the dorm that I was going to be staying at. Introduced herself, walked me to where my room was going to be. Was hospitable and all that, and we've been together ever since, basically.
Yeah. And I've met her. I know her.
I'm gonna get emotional if I keep talking about that kind of stuff. So I'm that kind of guy. So
you're a big softie, Mark.
Yeah. Huh? So anyways,
I am too, dude. So don't start. Okay.
Skipping ahead. So went through 3 months of schooling there. That was called their professional dog trainer course. It was pretty much everything from running a business, doing obedience training. We also we did a lot of Schutzen work there. He taught us a ton on Schutzen because that was his kind of hobby on the side. Yeah. A lot of police dog work. We went and worked with all the local agencies and stuff. Finished up there. I moved down to North Carolina where my wife lived, and we got married a year later. And our business we basically established our business while we were still in school. We picked the name. We made our business cards while we were at school. So we were already running and gunning. And then we got married in 95, 96. We went back to school together for another 3 months for a detection dog course. Okay. And this is before, nobody was even doing passive alert dogs back then. It was all active alert, scratch, dig, bite. So it was very different. So we went to that course, and you interrupt me anytime you want because I can go on and on here.
Oh, no, you can do it. I'm listening, man. But no, they would do, who did I speak to? Hair, I think Randy. And he's a good, like, I love, and anytime I think of indicators, I'm like his box, and I just want to geek out. Like, that's, a lot of people are into bite work. I'm not me, man. Like, I appreciate it. But, dude, I think I've just been bit too many times that it just kind of gives me a little PTSD shit. Like, I just don't want to, like, I'm like done with this, where the scent work and the tracking, oh man, I eat it up, and watching those dogs do their thing, I geek out. And there's like a machismo aspect of that bite world that I'm just not, I'm more hippy dippy, people that know me.
I'm in the same position. So, I was totally enthralled by the bite work stuff early on. It's that testosterone thing and everything. It was a lot of fun. I really wanted to just train police dogs. That's what I wanted to do more than anything. But I just realized that it just wasn't what I was cut out to do. And it wasn't the business model that I wanted to have. And then over the years doing protection dogs and all that kind of stuff, I've had a lot of back injuries, and my back injuries basically put a stop to me doing any more bite work, period.
Isn't that crazy, dude? Like, and that's what even Jenny today, and keep going. Like, I want to go back to when you went to school, and I want to kind of go back and linearly back up because people are enjoying hearing your journey. But Jenny, from the rescue here in Seattle, Doggone Seattle, was telling me about how she had to wrestle this 85-pound dog into her crate and my back is just like aching just hearing her,
yeah.
dude. You know, and it's like, you got to remember, like, core is huge, but there's just something that happens when we're like bent over and like pulling against the dog and having them pull us. Like, there's just something that happens to our back, man. Like, I did it once and with a Great Dane, trying to get him out of a crate, and it pulled out my back so bad. Like, for 2 weeks I was in the bed, and it's so crazy how quickly we can be down if we don't if we're not careful. Young whippersnappers out there that are listening, be easy to your body, man.
Everybody wants to be a decoy now, and I mean, I get it and everything, but you need to take care of your body. I'm telling you, because you only get one back, you only get those shoulders and knees and everything, and I wound up kind of destroying my back, and that was hard for me. I had to basically say, okay, I can't do the things that I love. I can't do them anymore.
Have a realization. Yeah.
And as the years went by, this is like 10 years ago, as the years went by, I grew where I didn't even want to do that stuff anymore. And I've become so comfortable with the fact of just telling people, no, I don't do protection dogs. I don't do any of that stuff. I have nothing against it, but I don't really have an interest in it. I lost any sort of desire to do it. After I physically couldn't do it, then the desire went away as well. And I just like helping people with their pet dogs now more than anything. And since social media has sort of taken off with the dog training world, I've sort of distance myself from a lot of the protection dog sports and all that kind of stuff, as it's just gotten so egotistical and just I don't know. I'm putting myself in a hole here, but everybody wants to be a damn Navy SEAL operator with their dog and all this kind of stuff. And I'm just like, maybe I'm just getting old, but I just sit back and shake my head. I am getting old. I know. I'll be 50 in like 2 months. So, but I just, I don't really even want to be around that stuff anymore. Like I could seriously like go and watch a competition or something like that. It just doesn't even do much for me anymore. I want to watch the obedience more than I want to watch anything else.
Yeah. Yeah, same with me. And just understand, I loved it, just the scent work and the tracking and stuff. So back to the class, you and your wife just got married. No kids yet. No kids. No. So 96 now, so you're back to school, right?
So 95.
You're still young. Who are you talking?
Yeah.
She's talking to me.
Saying,
no, just kidding.
Yeah.
So 50 pause. Look at
let's see. 95 got married. 96 went back to school for detection work. Returned back to North Carolina. Dog training was a part-time thing for us. We the internet didn't even start kicking in until probably around 98 or something like that. 96 through 98 is when it started to take its rise. We were doing a little bit of part-time business, but we had other jobs. And I mean, I wasn't making anything. I was making like just above minimum wage in my regular job. And somebody came to me and said, because I was like doing police dog stuff, right? And somebody had came to me and they said, hey, why don't you go to rookie school and become a cop? And I was like, I can do that? And they're like, yeah, because where I'm from in Massachusetts, you have to take a civil service exam, and it's very difficult to get a opportunity. Yeah. Okay. There's no good old boy system or anything like that. Don't matter who you know. It can be very, very, very challenging to get a job. But where we are in the Carolinas, you go to your local community college and you sign up for basic law enforcement training, and you go through their academy. And then after you get out of the academy and you graduate, you just start putting out applications and you just hope for the best. You interview and hopefully you can get a job somewhere. And so I wound up doing that. And I wanted to be a police officer. I kind of really fell into that desire to, be a public servant. But there was a hidden motivation that I wanted to be a canine officer, and I wanted to become a police canine trainer in a department and do all that. And all that stuff came true for me. I think like 9 months after I got into law enforcement, I was a canine handler and was already taking on the role of the trainer for that department. I bounced around to a couple departments, but I was a handler in them and trainer for them. And
you started training right away, huh?
Yeah, and it so that, and then what happened there for me in a lot of ways was my business my wife was still doing some, obedience training, doing stuff with the business, but I was so caught up with my, 12-hour shift of police work and doing police dogs that I really didn't care so much about Canine Command and what we were doing with public, with the dogs, the pet dogs. And so I had about 10 years. Yeah, about 10 years on the road doing canine. I left that and went into a nuclear security position, it was still law enforcement. I went into nuclear security. I was there for about 10 years. And then I walked away from that and just said, I'm done with all that. I'm training dogs full time, and we're gonna jump all in. And that's been, I don't know how many years ago that was, but
so
everything's been good.
10 and 10, so 2016-ish. So 2015 is 2016-ish.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
The nuclear. And I want to highlight this comment that D-Wash said, that everybody has their niche, and what you're doing is the niche that works for you, and that you, like, not many people figured it out. And that's a great point, man.
Yeah.
It's like, just get into that niche and niche it out. Just like I was saying, like, I raise angelfish. Like, that's my niche, dude. Like, yeah. And I don't do any other fish. Like, I can. Absolutely. And I do. I mean, I guess I have some Corridoras and some other cichlids and stuff out there that are, but for my thing, it's like you hone it down and realize that when you try to be everything to everybody, you end up being nothing, nobody. But when you can get, like, if you can get your corridor like an inch wide and a mile deep, where you can really get deep into something, right, and know it so well that you can teach it. That's why I took the Keeler class over and over, is because I wanted to know it so well that I could teach it. And I was blown away. I was like, dude, this is nothing like I've ever seen, like nothing like I was expecting. I was thought that I was going to be sick to my stomach because of all the yanking and cranking and stuff or whatever, but not at all, man. And it's like reading the dog, and that's why I was like, dude, I'm doing this again and again and again. And then when they said, if you want to have your videos, I'm like, absolutely, I'll be associated with this methodology because I know it in and out, and I know that it's fair, and I know that it's thorough, and I know, right, that it sticks. And not only that, but the dog that I train was I went to the rescue, and I said, I want the craziest pit bull you got. And they were like, okay.
They loved you for that.
They're like, oh, all right. I said, I want the craziest. And she was there for 15 months, dude. She was institutionalized dog in 15 months. And I took her through the Keeler methodology in less, I think it was 9 days she was adopted.
That's
9
awesome.
days. And not only that, but then she came back. And John Sparks she went actually boarding with John. And he has a video of them putting her through her paces 3 years later. No trainers, no nothing. And the dog's doing it perfectly.
That's awesome.
Right. And that's it,
Well, and what you just touched on right there is something that I have really discovered. When a dog goes through a properly done Keeler approach to training, no shortcuts, you do it right, that dog can be like put in a kennel for a year, and you can get that dog out, and just in a couple of minutes, the dog sees all those pictures that you established through those repetitions. If you're doing the things the same way, this is what I tell all my students. I'm like, this dog's not going to forget. You're the one that's going to forget. When you realize the mechanics that you're doing wrong, if you start doing them the way that you were taught, the light bulb goes off in the dog's head, and the dog falls right into play where you want it. And I see it all the time. And it's to me, it's a beautiful thing when the dog's like, thank you for being clear to me on what it is that you want, but just by the way that I handle the leash and the way that I move versus the way that the client does. And then we just clean that up. And I'm saying, look, you're forgetting your responsibility on your end of the leash, to translate what it is that the dog needs. So
responsibility equals your ability to respond. right? That's your
Yeah.
responsibility. And so
Yeah.
if your dog it's an interactive relationship and you're responding to that, and the dog's picking up to what you're responding to, and sometimes they're not really getting the full message, right? And so it's easy, and you can see it, man. When the dog gets it, the dog, you're like, oh, I got it. Like you can see it in that dog. It's like, okay, this is what we're doing. And I remember I took this dog, this Dutch Shepherd, and like it's crazy because you instantly make that connection with that dog, right? And they actually they want to be handled by you, right? And do you know what else I do, Mark? Is I give my clients my dog that's trained up, and my dog will clean them up. Like they will show, like, do you know what I mean? Like I want them to feel what it's like to handle a trained dog, what this feels like. And I'm like, how? And they're like, dude, this is like, I'm not even, it's like I don't even have a dog.
No, I mean, actually, I'm glad you brought that up because that's a great reminder for myself as a coach that I need to do stuff like that more often. I've heard people do that so much, and I never do it, but it's
remarkable.
I know exactly what you mean, and it's like a beautiful thing. It's like when I was a young dog trainer, somebody had a Schutzen 3 German Shepherd that they were getting rid of for like really, really cheap. And we wound up getting that dog. And that was a great thing for me as a trainer. I did not train that dog. I didn't never claim that I trained that dog, but I was able to work that dog through all of its training that it already knew and become a better handler, just learning how to handle that trained dog. And then I was like, okay, now I know that this is what it feels like. Now I got to figure out how to get there,
to bridge the gap.
Yeah.
What did Nina say? Nina's, thank you for being here, Nina. I'm one of Mark's students. It's great to hear his journey to where he is today. I've learned so much from him.
The Nina and this dog, Mala, this Malinois of hers, she has gone through,
goodness gracious.
I believe she has gone through 7 classes with me, all with that one dog. So anytime I offer a new class, she's the first one to sign up. I let people repeat classes, my group classes. If I have a spot available, I let them repeat it at no charge. And
cool.
And she's always, jumping at the bit to grab a spot if she can. And she's been a really, really good ambassador for my company because she takes that dog and walks that dog every day when she gets off of work. She walks it downtown. Everybody sees her stopping automatic sits at every single intersection, doing all kinds of just beautiful, beautiful obedience when she's out in public. And I can't tell you how many people have come to me and said, yeah, I met this lady with her Malinois, downtown, and she's told me I needed to come see you. So thank you, Nina.
Yeah, and that's the best way to advertise is to have your dog be the proof of the pudding, right? And the dog's going to tell you if you're full of crap or not.
Yes.
And that's what I tell people. And they're like, because I'll talk to them about the long line work and I'll do the first steps or whatever. And I'm like, think Karate Kid, dude. We're thinking we're waxing the car and we're painting the fence right now. It's kind of fundamentals. We'll be putting it all together as we go down this path. But I just and not only that, but I don't want to overwhelm them with knowledge. So I'm like, we're sticking to this shit. You asked us, we'll get there. We'll get to that question. But right now, I just need you to focus on this because I don't want to overwhelm you and I don't want to distract you from the point and that we're working on at the task at hand. And what we're trying to, the abstract concept that we're trying to introduce incrementally to this animal. And, a lot of people, they want to get the problem solved. They want to get this stuff figured out. I know, but behavior doesn't work like that. We need to have a systematic approach where we can build that foundation, clear out those gaps. And in those gaps is where the gremlins lie. Love students like Nina, Christy. Yeah. Christy.
Yeah. I'll have students that, they'll get 1 or 2 weeks into training and then they'll be like, hey, when are you going to teach us how to get our dog to stop jumping or to stop barking all the time and all that stuff? And I'm like, I'm already doing it. This is what we've been doing. You just need to continue to do the process. And by, like the first night the dogs are in a group class, it's barking like crazy. And each week it gets quieter and quieter and the dogs aren't jumping and acting insecure. And it's just a matter of just working the process, but people want to hit the problem head on. And I never do that. This is not the way I deal with it.
Yeah. Well, and it's also, I mean, you're going to get problems if you hit it head on with the dog doesn't know that right answer, right?
Right.
And not only that, but as the dog learns and calms down too, right? And then even what do they say, like week number 7 or something? Bring me any problems that you have at week number 7, and we'll deal with anything. And guess what happens?
There's very little problems.
We're like, no, dude, we're good. We're good. You good? We're good. Yeah. Okay. Well, then let's, then we'll work on some more downstairs, or we'll work on some recalls or whatever, and I like how the recalls last too.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And a lot of people want to know that right away. And then the sit or the down, and then the stand as a steam vent. I mean, there's this course that we do, you guys, where we take a thread and we'll put it between the collar and the leash. And then we handle the dog using the thread. And then at the end of the leash, at the end of the drill, we have to prove it by taking the collar and then breaking it with our hands so they can see that it isn't.
That's intimidating. I mean, I know even as a dog trainer, when you had to do it the first time, you're probably like, oh, crap, I hope this is going to work.
Right.
It's very intimidating. And
tell me that's cruel and like that is over the top. No way, man. Like that is like, that's a thread. You're walking your dog with a thread.
Yep.
And to me, that's beautiful. And not only that, dude, I've worked dogs at like the Ace Hardware. You guys have Ace?
Yeah.
Where you are? Yeah. And I had this lady come up to me and was like, dude, I hate to interrupt you, but I just want you to know what you're doing is beautiful. Like, this is like, I'm watching you engage with this dog. And it's almost like a dance that you're doing with these dogs. It's almost like, I don't mean to sound, I mean, does that make sense?
No, it does. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. String test. Yeah. Here, let's see here. How do I get my dog to not charge the fence was my question, and it resolved itself.
Yep.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
String test. Yep. And the first 20 minutes of new class is always wild, right? And that's just how it takes stuff to kind of dissipate the energy. I mean, but same thing with kids, right? Same thing when we get into our freaking conference, at like our conference mind. Crazy. Yep. Once you pass, your confidence is and that's it, man, is that your confidence is built. The relationship with this dog is built. We actually have the chance to practice real positive reinforcement. Mm-hmm. And I get it, man, where the people that are out there that they call themselves purely positive, pure force free. I get it. I love it. I love loving up my dogs. I love giving my dogs treats. I love that stuff, man. But I also realize the value of boundaries. And just like Mark was talking about with consequences, all consequences means is coming together, like convene, congregate, just means come together. And then sequences. So sequences coming together. Mm-hmm. So the consequence can be good, of a positive thing, or it can be not so good, right? And so that's it. Is that the consequences based on the sequences of this dog's actions are where we're at. And that's where, if we can put it in a place where the dog teaches themselves, the learning experience becomes accelerated and exponentially greater from my experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then you can always add more flavor to a Keeler program. You know what I mean? Like e-collar. You get to it. Like, I'm trying to teach the dog to work with and for me, and the dog is earning that social reward from me. Yes. But if I want to jazz that up, I can jazz that up as I can take everything that I've built, that entire foundation. The dog knows that it must do these things, must comply to these commands, right? And it's a willing participant at this point in the training. And now if I want to add in, a tug toy or food or whatever to like really now start getting a little bit of pep in its step, if I was going to try and compete or something, it's so easy at that point to do that. It's like a breeze, but people do that, and I'm not knocking other people, but people do all of the heavy food and heavy like tug toy work to build their obedience. And that's great. And it looks beautiful, but I want obedience that works everywhere. and my dog doesn't always have to be like extremely focused on me, you know? So when it's not focused and it knows there's no reward, the dog still understands that you still must do what I'm asking you to do. You just don't have to stare into my face the whole entire time to do it. You just have to be attentive. You just have to know where we are and what we're doing and pay attention.
Yeah. It's not super formal.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't even know how they can see when they do that. But I like it when they can look down, look up, look down,
Yeah.
But it's also like when you can just be in a heel and be next to me. And I mean, I've used this so many times, dude. Traveling with my dogs. My dogs are young. I mean, they're not young, they're small. And so I can pack them in the plane seat underneath me, and I just travel everywhere with them. And the heel is one of the number one command that I use. And I remember even at Napopo Gold School, Bart was trying to explain walking with the left with the heel, right? Yeah. And I'm like this, and it's just natural. So there's gems, pearls like that will translate to other philosophies very, very readily once you understand, and this is what I call the foundation stuff. And do you know what Keeler is? Keeler is old Napopo. Very similar. Like there's Napopo and then there's old Napopo. And old Napopo is much more compulsive. And new Napopo has the clicker and the e-collar and stuff. But sometimes we use a lot more Napopo with a particular dog. Old Napopo, sometimes we use a lot more new Napopo. And I think that that's what's cool about having this eclectic knowledge base, is that every dog is different. And just like what he's saying, we can jazz this up and we can take and build it up with toys, treats, whatever, add the gasoline or the Jack and Coke, right? Jack Daniels into our Coke. But that foundation is always there. And the other thing too is that once we start going abstract and this dog starts getting too frustrated or starts getting too lost, boom, heel. Oh, I know this. Boom, lock in something that they know. And maybe we can baby step that information out to where they're not going to get lost this time.
Yeah. And you always have something to fall back on.
Look at Mark's shirt, you guys. It's he's the brick house, this dude. He's been working out.
This is on the wrong side. This is green. I've got a green screen behind me, and this is green on my shirt. And so it's
got some comments
showing up.
Hey, you guys, comment down below and share this video too, if you don't mind. And then go to so you got some tasks I need you to do. Go to YouTube, subscribe to my Bow Wow Bill page. Check out me out on Patreon. I'll put up a link down in my comments. I don't know if I did, but I should right now because I'm going to freaking forget. Hold on. Sorry, ADD. And I'm a one-man show here. If you like what I'm doing, you guys consider supporting me on Patreon. We do a 2-hour Zoom call, interactive, with an expert every single month. And then there it is in the comments down below. But even if you're not on Patreon, I'm happy that you're here with us. Thank you so much for watching these. These are so much fun. And I learned so much myself. So yes, with this dog, I have seen how boundaries have helped and how it makes a difference. You can almost tell when see someone's dog that never had boundaries of how it acts. Crazy, for lack of a better term. I couldn't agree more. And I tell people, look at how much this dog is looking at their person with their eyes, right? Yeah. They can hear them and they can smell them. They're aware of them. But I want look at how much that dog turns and looks at that person. Just do a homework. And any dog, if you're at a city, look out the window, see dogs walking by your house or something. Just see how long it takes for that dog to look at that person. Yeah. And you'll see a lot about that relationship just by that interaction. You got anything to say about the?
No, I mean,
crazy.
Yeah, I always tell people too, and I know you've probably done it. I always tell people, spend some time and just shut your mouth and don't talk to the dog at all, and see, and then you'll discover new things about your relationship with your dog when you don't talk. And is your dog actually even interested in you, or is your dog trying to get more attention out of you because you're not talking? And try to learn in ways to communicate without that.
Yeah. Well, here I got to put up one of my favorite sayings. Silence is golden. Duct tape is silver.
What is it? Silence is golden. What?
Silence is golden. Here we go. Silence is golden. Duct tape is silver.
So that's not only funny, but it's actually true. My wife, she's not afraid to tell somebody what they need to do real quick. And her pet peeve is people constantly talking to their dog, just stay, and just continually just running their mouth.
Mostly women. That's what
and that's what we mostly work with as dog trainers. For the most part.
8 or 9 out of 10 of my clients are women.
Yeah. And so my wife is always telling people, just kiddingly, just kind of joking with people, if you keep it up, I'm going to get the duct tape out. If you can't learn to be quiet, I'm going to get the duct tape out. Well, she's been saying this for years. She came home one day and told me, she said, I actually duct taped a client's mouth today. And I'm like, are you serious? And she's like, yeah, I did. It was all in fun, but the lady didn't mind. She duct taped her mouth and she wore the duct tape through the lesson. And I was like, I love you. That's awesome.
The next day or next week, she came in all vinyl. No, just kidding. Sorry. We got more comments here. Let me see here. Dogs thrive with boundaries. Amen. And then she says, I enjoy learning from well-seasoned trainers. You're great guys and amazing trainers. My pleasure, man. Thanks for being here. And let's see. Really enjoyed conversation. Thank you. John, what's up, John? How you doing, brother?
John's a good guy. I like John.
Now Chrissy's bringing duct tape to class. Do it. Do you know what's hilarious, dude? Is I was down in Santa Monica at Alchemist, who's like Eminem's producer, a recording studio. It's an amazing place. And I said that to him. I was like, silence is gold and duct tape is silver. And he's like, bro, I want to make that a rap album. So if he does, I said, give me credit if you do. Like, I want something on the album.
Yeah, no kidding,
so we'll see, and I'll be able to announce it.
Yeah, you better patent that. That's going to wind up on a T-shirt somewhere. Somebody's going to be selling it online.
I am up to 8 high energy spaniels now without boundaries for them. Damn right, dude. And I was talking, I do a lot of Zoom calls, not just for my clients, but also for dog trainers and breeders as well. And one of the things that we deal with is like a lot of overwhelm in the breeding world, especially with powerful dogs, and people don't know what they're doing. And those boundaries are very important because those dogs can turn on each other too. And that's exactly what happened was that they hurt this pup. Yeah. And you got to know what you're doing, you guys. These things are, they're high management cases,
Yeah, absolutely.
Nagging, and same thing with nagging corrections, right? Because nagging a dog, and nagging it means not just with their voice, but if we're nagging them with our physical guidance too.
Well, nagging all the way around. We talk about nagging like corrections that just don't really get you anywhere, but just people they nag their dog with their constant talking. They nag their dog with their coddling, and they're trying to bribe the dog into behaviors that the dog doesn't fully understand. And you're just clouding this dog's mind. You're trying to be nice to your dog. You're causing stress. That's right. But people cause so much stress to their dog. All learning is stressful.
Yes.
But when you nag the dog, or when you're consistently just bribing the dog and not trying to get the dog beyond that, you're creating more stress, in my opinion. You got to have a clear path, and nagging doesn't get it there.
Well, and I have to remind my clients, the dog is stressing. Like this running around being an idiot like this is stress, you guys. And then a lot of times they're like, it is? Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, dude, this dog is stressed out. This dog, and do you know what one of the most damaging substances to the brain and our muscle tissue is? The stress hormones, endorphins and adrenal, the adrenal gland or the adrenal hormones, and the cortisols and all that stuff is not good for us. That's why it makes us react so absurd, I guess, or such in a strong way, I guess. Right. No LOL, you broke me. What did we do in here? I don't know what happened.
She was in one of my group classes recently, and
okay.
I get that. I get those kind of comments a lot of times that like I kind of broke someone from the way that they look at dogs and the way that they look at their relationship with their dog. I think that might be what she means. I think.
Yeah, let us know a little bit more about my okay. Let's see, because when we get shit done, yes, they do, but they also, yeah, no comment. I'm not saying anything. This is excellent. Glad you guys did this. Thank you for being here, man. This is, and I got a lot of these conversations, you guys, on the YouTube channel, and you know, it's. I just like the reason I do this is one, so people can see who real vetted good dog trainers are. So now, like this, you can trust this dude. There's some shysters out there who tell people, oh my gosh, man, do you have any stories of a trainer that has told somebody that is like, mine is that the aggressive dogs were separated. The trainer comes in, is like, oh, all we need to do is let them all out and throw treats in the middle of the living room. And now we have two dogs in the hospital, and the trainer got bit. Like, I'm just like, Jesus, man, like, what is going on here? Like, but that's one of my examples. So
yeah, I mean, I really don't have any. I mean, I've probably got a million stories, but I can't dig them out of my old brain.
Yeah, I'm just
but
like, oh.
you know, the industry is a mess, and I don't know. You know, I have no ambition of getting bigger as a business than where my wife and I are. We've kind of resolved ourselves to like, this is, you know, we're happy with where we are. So it's not about increasing my income every year. I have no interest in any of that. And it just, because that's our approach, or maybe it's just who I am, but it allows me to keep my integrity. Yes. You know, I try to be as honest as I can. And sometimes I lose business because I'm so honest with people. I'm just like, look, I can't help you with that, you know, or I'm not going to help you with that. You know, I mean, I'm just pretty upfront and honest with people. And I've also gotten to the point in my career where I'm not going to work with every single person that calls. And I'm kind of a bit comfortable with that, but
me too.
The problem is that I warn people when somebody calls me and say they've got some really nasty human aggression case. Can I help them? Can I work with them? Yes. Do I want to? No. And so I choose not to. And then they ask, who can you recommend to me? And unfortunately, I'm getting more and more, and I'm just becoming a crotchety old man, but I'm just getting more and more where I'm not comfortable referring those kinds of cases out to other people because people make promises they can't keep and they just take that money. And so we're in a difficult position in this business because if you can't help someone, they're going on to the next person. If you don't have a spot for board and train, they're going to take the next person who has a spot. Most of the people don't vet who they're going to use. They don't think about it. They're like, oh, you don't have a board and train spot until November. Okay, well, the guy down the road has one opening up next week. I'll go to him. Or your board and train is 6 weeks long. I don't want to do that. I only want to send my dog away for 2 or 3 weeks. Okay, well, then do that. You know what I mean? But they're not thinking through any of this. They're just looking at when can I get help first, not who's going to help me the most, not who's got integrity. And it's just, I guess I get to the point, I try personally to get to the point where I can only worry about what Amy and I put out and what we do and just continue to do that. And everybody else can just take care of themselves as far as in the industry. I also kind of gotten to the point where I'll help any other dog trainer that I possibly can. They message me, they call me. I am super happy to help anybody. So if you're watching this and you want to reach out to me and you got questions or just want to pick my brain about how I do my business or anything like that, don't be shy. I like that stuff. I take the time to talk to people. And that's the way I feel like I can help the industry going forward. Because I mean, I look at it, I don't know how long I'll be doing this. I mean, 10 more years, 15, I don't know. I really don't.
Chippendale dancer next.
Maybe. I'm working really hard to look good naked. I am. I really am.
Well, so we got so many comments to catch up on, dude. So here, John says, "Doing good. Always a pleasure. Love you, bro. Love to have you on one of these as well, John. If you want to join me, I bought mine on a roll. LOL. Still don't know, but we'll see if we got a lot more coming here." Jennifer Ryan Flex. Okay, a dog more stress running its hamster wheel in every gear. Mind that clutch. It's burn hard than it is learning any constructive lesson. Damn right. It's spinning the wheels, dude. That's what we call it, spinning the wheels. And not only that, but the importance of like isolating this dog in a crate, isolating the dog on the tether, getting the dog's mind into a calm, sit on the dog, exercise where we start from a calm mindset. So, we don't want that freaking dog's mind running its hamster wheel. We want that open, receptive animal. We don't want a manic, crazy
Well,
dog.
they're inadvertently creating anxiety in their dog, by not building a proper relationship, giving the dog responsibilities and stuff like that. It's just the dog's just doing whatever it can to try and get their attention, and they're inadvertently giving attention to a dog that's in an anxious state of mind.
Well, and I don't know where in human world we got it to get the dogs like just freaking crazy, and then that's where the happy dog is, right?
Yeah.
It's like, no, that's freaking nutty, manic. And I'm not saying that I never do that. It's like I get dogs.
Right. We get goofy.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. But it's not like there's a time and a place for that. But it's just like, just like Pecan just stepped up here, got some love, and then I like shoved her off, and now she's laying down here. There's just that we tell when it starts and when it stops, and when the dog starts being the boss of all that stuff, then we got a problem, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jonathan says, I tell clients I'd rather have my girlfriend say, if you put the ketchup on the top shelf of the fridge again, we're going to have a moment. Then here, you put it kitchen on this top shelf again under her breath. What?
I think he must have miswrote that last part.
All right. So one tells me it's important. We're going to have a moment. Then
Jonathan, you lost me there.
I think that he's saying like just be more mindful with how we present it. Yeah. So Jonathan, reread that. So, oh hell no, that was when the trainer was throwing all those treats, and I'm like, you fucking did what? And then she was like, I'm like, she fucking did what? Like, a lot of people pleasing trainers. That bunny hug. People pleasers. People pleasing.
Yes, Christy, you nailed it there. That's a pet peeve of mine.
What's bunny hug?
Well, I think what she's saying, and I talk about this a lot, and it's just that you're paying me to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. I'm not here to hold. I mean, I'm here to help you. Everybody's different, how they learn and all that kind of stuff. But you're not paying me to just smooth things over and tell you what's going to make you feel good and all that. And as any dog trainer knows, it's mostly about changing the person than it is the dog. If I can change the person, the dog is easy.
Totally.
And
when I tell them, I'm like an attorney for the animal. You can tell me whatever you want, dude.
That's great.
I represent this animal's best interests, And
dude, I'm stealing that.
Go ahead.
I am definitely stealing that. That is beautiful.
I'm like an attorney for the animal. Like, come on, give it to me. So present your best case. And then let's. Yeah. Okay, well, you presented your best case, but here's my judgment. You're wrong.
They've got me on retainer for so long.
Yeah, they got me on retainer. But regardless of what I hear, I'm always considering that dog first and foremost above my client. And a lot of times I'm like, you're not going to like what I'm going to say here. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to say it anyway, but I'm going to try to say it in a way that, and a lot of times they say it first. Like I'm too overbearing. I'm like, boom. Like you said it, or I'm too coddling, or I'm too, right. And I'm working with the client right now. And that's basically it is too much and too much stress and what it is it's a transmutation of our own wants and needs. It's a very selfish desire because we're indulging ourselves without the consideration of the effect that it's having on another being.
Yeah, absolutely.
Too many trainers are in it for the money instead of the dog. Yep.
Yeah, that's a fact.
Yep. And the dog, one day they might get bit. That's what happens to dog trainers that are in it for the money because they don't recognize what they need to with the dog, right? I stay in my lane with my niche, and I'm helping owners with their dogs. I'm not up for everyone because I tell them what they need to hear and not what they want to hear. I'm a cherry picker with my clients. I'm too old for that bullshit. As we get older, that's absolutely right.
Yeah, I think some of that comes with age. So for like all the young dog trainers out there that are just getting started, and listening to folks like us, you know, we've had so many conversations with clients through the years.
Yes,
and
the same damn one, you know?
Right. And so we have learned through the years that, well, that didn't get the point across, and that didn't get the point across. And we start realizing where we really need to nail things down with the person and be blunt, be professional, be kind, but be blunt about it. Yeah. And that's the key to it. But I will say that that's a skill. If you're a young trainer, I'm just gonna be blunt here. If you're a young trainer, you're in your early 20s and you're just getting started. If you're really, really blunt with people, they're probably going to think you're a little prick. Okay. But when you get a little older and you've been doing this a long time, people think you're spouting wisdom. Okay. At least they believe you are. Okay. And you're able to say things more bluntly and more clearly to people. Concise. And they respect you being that honest with them and upfront. That's how I personally feel about it. I feel like I'm received that way by my clients. But I feel like if I was 20 years younger than I am and I did it, they'd probably look at me like, that little punk, you know? So it kind of comes with time. And that's the thing about the dog training industry, that so many young trainers, and I'm not beating them up, but they don't understand, is in this social media world, everybody wants to have a business with 10 trainers working for them. Everybody wants to grow like a friggin' pine tree, you know? Mm-hmm. And you might grow your business really fast, but your knowledge and your experience is going to be like an oak tree. And it's going to take a long time to get where you are. And you're going to make a ton of mistakes with dogs and with clients. And it's just, you just really need to slow down and let it happen.
Let it grow itself.
Yep.
And don't be too hard on yourself when you realize how wrong you were with some dogs, right? Yeah. And how hard you were. I kick myself, but I also know that, hey, look, man, it's a learning process for me. I didn't know, and when I did know better, I did do better, right? And when I learned, I did change, and so that's it. Like, we as individuals, we have to say that powerful statement that's so hard for some people, is I was wrong. And we also need to learn that forgiveness is key, but the hardest person to forgive is ourselves sometimes. And so as we learn and grow and stuff, like be easy with yourself and know that this is a process. And sometimes we do make mistakes, but it's our willingness and that ego, letting that ego kind of down to be able to humble ourselves, to always be learning, right? Otherwise you're dead in the water, man.
Yeah. And I always feel that, you know, that dogs are far more forgiving than we are. You know, that's the way I always look at it. I've made so many, I have overcorrected, overpressured. I have made so many mistakes through the years with dogs. I mean, we all have. I mean, some days you're frustrated and you just shouldn't really be working with dogs to begin with. And the dogs are so forgiving, and we're able to get past my own mistakes, and we just go on. Take a different path or whatever. That's harder to do with people, you know. They write bad reviews.
Yeah, even if they don't even know you or use you.
Yeah.
And if they think that because you're an evil man because of the tools or something that you use, it's just silly how salacious people get, man. You know, trying to build a relationship without honesty never works 100% of the time.
Yep.
That's right. You know, you don't really have, you have a story. You don't have a relationship. You have, something else. Quality over quantity. Oh my gosh, Bill, look at that cutie. I'm assuming she's talking about Pecan, but maybe she's talking about you, Mark. No, just It took me months before I found Linda, took my time. Then she kicked my ass. Love her to death. Okay. We're going to have to put some duct tape on you. Next, Pete. LOL, bought my roll of duct tape. LOL, so people are getting duct tape. Okay, here we go. You put the ketchup on the top shelf again under her breath. Okay, so we're going back to the top. So I tell clients I'd rather have my girlfriend say, if you put the ketchup on the top shelf on the fridge again, we're going to have a moment, than hear, you put the ketchup on the top shelf again under her breath. One tells me it's important. Okay.
I get what he's saying now. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. It's about presentation, and how we approach, and if we come, with our fist ball, then the person is probably going to respond, or the dog is going to respond right. So if we come intense, if we come in hot, the dog is probably going to react to that. I thought Mark was a little intimidated. I took a class with Linda.
Linda is her self-proclaimed description is she's a Sherman tank.
All right.
So
Linda's welcome to come on one of these if she wants to. I'd love
to. I tell people all the time, I might look intimidating and stuff like that with my hair and my beard and all that and everything, but I'm blunt, but I think people find that I have a great sense when they work with me personally. I have a wonderful sense of humor, and I try to get to know them, and and they realize that I'm not what they thought, that image portrays.
Yeah, you're not a homeless. No, just
kidding. I looked like one a couple weeks ago until I cut my beard off.
Yeah, totally.
I look like you.
Now you look like royalty. Now you look like you're going have like a shank or something. Like the client that wants it trained now and not work for it. I'm bad for that. I like 0 to finished. Like the client that wants it trained now and not work for it. I'm bad for that. I guess yes, absolutely. I don't not 100%, but I think that if you have to work for what you get, man, you can't go around, over, under. You have to go through the work. You have to do it.
The famous saying, don't expect results for the work that you did not do. And I've got that written on
How do you handle people that don't do the work, Mark?
Well, it kind of depends on the program that they're in. If they're in private lessons, it's easy for me to just have a one-on-one conversation with them. If they're in a group class, it's a little bit more challenging. I know if they're doing their work because they're turning in homework videos to me during the week. If they're not turning in homework videos, then I'm going to have a conversation with them about it. And my group class content is all available online as well for remote students. And so basically what I've done now is I sometimes get people sign up for my group class, right? And I always say low cost does not mean low commitment. Okay. And so they choose the lowest thing that I have, which is my group class, but I'm actually going to hold you more accountable in that group class than I am anybody else. Okay. Because I don't have the one-on-one time with you. Right. And so they have to do homework videos and all that kind of stuff. But I warn them that their homework videos are a requirement for you to participate in this class, because I'm not going to have you in a group class and you're a safety issue. You're not done the work. You're a distraction and all that. So, people have tried me on that, and I've had to remove people from my group class solely for the fact that they're not doing their homework. But I have the backup for them, and I just say, you're no longer allowed in my class because you're not fully participating, and I'm holding you accountable to that. So now you can work at home and follow everything online. So you're still getting all the material. You'll still getting all my training videos. You're just not going to be coming to class because, like I said, those people become a disruption as their dogs are still out of control because they're just showing up every week without doing the work. And so I just put my foot down on that because it can ruin a good class really quick.
Yeah. And everybody else is doing the work. Yep. Like if it's the first couple classes, somebody's behind, I let them see, hey, look, man, you're here, you're behind. I think that's apparent. Mm-hmm. Like if they can reel in that slack, or if they're making an earnest attempt to do so, because every dog learns differently too, and some dogs need a little bit more polishing, depending on what we're working on. Right. But if they're earnestly trying, then absolutely. Build trust first, then you can be blunt. Absolutely. Same thing with dogs, so build trust, and then you can correct a dog and they know, hey, okay, this guy is not just coming out of willy-nilly nowhere. And
I'd say that build trust too comes with that building trust is in this business too is also a little bit based on your reputation and how long you've been in the game. Mm-hmm. Because I have people who come to me who basically say, I was told to come to you, but I was also told to expect that he's going to tell you like that I'm going to be blunt with them. You know what I mean? So yeah, they're trusting. A lot of people come and they're trusting already that they're going to be exposed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that it's not going to be all about the dog. And so they kind of come into it already with that trust level because somebody else through word of mouth has already warned them. Mark's going to be blunt. Amy's going to be blunt. You know what I mean? And that's just the way that we do things. And so
I respect your bluntness. It just gets a point across and makes people stop and think. And not only that, but guess what? You're paying me. You know what I'm saying? Like you're paying me for this and I owe it to you. Like, yes. This is my professional and honestly my moral obligation.
Well, that's for integrity. Again, it's an integrity thing. If someone's paying you and you're skirting the issue and not telling them what they really need to hear, then you're really not being very ethical in what you're doing.
No, man. And it's not okay, dude. And that's where it's like even when we were talking to Pat Stewart, he was like, hey man, if this lady was asking, how do we get involved? He's like, just do it. And if you don't know, then don't charge people, but be honest with it. Like just get your hands on dog. Don't be going crazy with like aggression cases or whatever, but start walking dogs, start handling, start learning the basics and stuff, but get your hands on some dogs. Right. Yep. And same type of concept, I'm game. Love to learn from people that are better than me. So do I, man. That's why I like Bart Fellens and Fred Hassan and the people that I talk to all the time. And I'm so honored, dude, that they're in my network. If you didn't
we never stop learning.
The dog will tell on you. We know, man.
Mm-hmm.
And usually right when you walk in the door, we know. And how you walk through that door too.
Yeah, and that's we have our facility and we have glass doors and everything, so I get to see everything. And my wife and I usually give people about the first 2 weeks, maybe around the third week, we start telling them, when you come back next week, your lesson began when you exited that car. And so we're watching how you walk up to the building, how you interact with your dog when you're opening the door. I don't want 3 weeks into lessons, your dog pulling across the training room and jumping on me. What have we been working on? So we start, and my wife's really bad. I'm actually a little bit more softer, believe it or not, than my wife is. My wife's like, go back outside, try again. She does. She will. She'll go out there in the parking lot and help them. She'll start the lesson in the parking lot. She'll be like, we're going to get this right before we start.
Good. Start from the frickin'.
She's tough.
From the get-go. Confinement and silence were such a hard thing to do, but it really helped me how to read my dog's body language better and be more mindful of the signals I'm sending. Great point, Don. Excellent. Yep. And that's one of the biggest homework. In fact, I just got a text. Let me see. Are the tethers an option to the crate? And is there anywhere anchor without anchoring to the wall, floors without securing? Cool. I'll be talking to my client after I call you after this. That's one of my private clients that I'll be flying to Sun Valley, Idaho next week for one of my. I fly all over the country. I'm very, very fortunate what I do, and I cannot wait to go see them. And we've been working, but I'll call them up and make sure. But Dawn, tell me about Dawn here.
Oh yeah, just I always like talking to Dawn. She's a school teacher, and I just like talking to her the intellectual side of the way she understands things and talks about things. She's a three-time student of ours with 3 different dogs. So she's been around with us for a while.
You got Pecan, Maple, and Pippa having a play fest at my feet, just so you guys know. So if you hear any crazy noises, that's them. And I'm love the homework video idea, Mark. Great. One thing I learned is that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Yeah. It's speaking of Karen, Larry's one of my big guys. I love him. Yep, they want it bigger, not better. What are you talking about there, Larry?
Yeah, Larry, let's take that private, man.
Easy, yeah. To the DMs, bro. Like, no. I need that blunt. I need someone forward and authentic. Why bullshit, right? It's so much better, dude. And not only that, but I love it. And my clients love it. When I'm like, dude, I just tell them what's up, man. And I made a decision. I'm like, I need to, like, because when you try to sugarcoat stuff, they don't take you serious. And same thing when you don't charge enough money too. They don't take you serious. So I had to up my money. I charge them more, and then I talk to them a little bit more matter of fact, you know?
Yeah.
And they appreciate that. That's why they're paying me. They're paying me for that. They're paying me to keep them accountable. They're paying me to fix something that has gone off the ditch in their life and they want help with it, or they're paying me to prevent something from not going on the ditch. And those are, if they're calling me before.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dogs make a trainer, in my opinion. That's right. I remember earlier how I was talking about how I found Keeler through the dogs, man. Watching these dogs that went through the Keeler methodology and watching them calmly execute. And I'm just like, okay, where's this dog from? Mm-hmm. We got LOL. As a student, the homework videos we could view from classmates were great to watch other dogs' progress throughout the week. And I love the camaraderie of the class, right? Where people, like, even though you're not one-on-one, but other people can be like, oh, man, that was me. This is what I did. Or, look, we were there. Just keep it up. Or giving the cheerleading and stuff like that. Like, the classes are awesome in that aspect, right?
Well, I'll tell you, some of my students, it doesn't happen in every class, but some of my students have taken it to the next level. And so each class, I open up a closed Facebook group for each class where they submit their homework videos. And that's how they communicate with me throughout the week. I critique their homework. Everybody else gets to see what instruction I'm giving that client on their videos and all that. But these students a lot of times will organize through the Facebook group. They'll say, hey, I live in such and such town. Do you want to meet at the park and we can work on distractions together? And so, I mean, I've had some classes where 3 or 4 of my students, it's almost like they're holding their own group class and they get together in the middle of the week and train. And I love when they do that because it helps them out tremendously, gets them out of their backyard and doing some real training.
Well, not only that, but it helps generalize what we're doing, not to just your facility.
Yeah.
Right. But to over here. And now we see the same dogs, the same people over here. Right. And it just generalizes, helps the dog just to kind of get that pattern. I think we got a pretty important question here. How do you guys handle a client that gives full disclosure that they have a mental health diagnosed? Are you still very blunt and direct, especially when the root of the problem is on the human end of the leash? Great question.
So we're talking about a human mental health diagnosis.
Right. So we got an autistic person, or we got somebody that is physically disabled as well. You know, I actually have a client that had a really hard time. She had a stroke, and she has word finding difficulties. Mm-hmm. And so talking with her was very difficult because she just didn't know what you were saying. She was lost. But moving her through the automatic sits and the leash, or and the corrective turns, because we can move through it, was so much more beneficial for her. You know, it's a special case. It's an outlier, just like we have outlier dogs sometimes, and we have autistic, and we need to present that case one-on-one. In my opinion, what do you think, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be, like you said, it's an outlier issue. It's not something that we deal with on a regular basis, but we do get clients in, and I usually will try to recommend that I do private lessons so that we can customize the work a little bit. We're still going to do basically the same training, but you know, I'm not going to be as blunt as with somebody that might have some sort of a disability. I'm gonna figure out, just like I would, not to compare a human to a dog, but just like I would with a dog, I got to figure out with this particular dog, how is this dog going to understand the clarity from me, So I'm going to do the same thing, whether it's somebody with a physical disability or a mental disability, or, something like that. You know, we figure it out and we work with them. We've had lots of people that have come in that, you know, they're in a wheelchair and they want their dog, they want to do private obedience lessons and stuff. And so we figure out ways to modify it using remote collars and stuff. And we assist them as much as we can, and then try to get the dog to respond. So there's always a way.
Yeah. And there's also that book, Teamwork, and Teamwork 2, that is actually written from a disability perspective. And so I have that, and there's a couple of DVDs with that, but it's just going to be more of a tailored approach to their specific situation and what they want. If they're looking for a service dog, an emotional support dog, that's a totally different thing as well, versus just having a dog, a companion animal. But yeah, great question. This is something that we get, and especially I had a guy out here with PTSD that just came out from Afghanistan, and we were working with his service dog. That was, the guy had a traumatic brain injury, and he was having a hard time walking a straight line, and he would start to drift, and the dog would keep him kind of on the straight line. And my neighbor started blasting off his guns. And I could see that guy kind of just like flinching and just like kind of get into a panic. And I'm just like, hey, man, why don't we go ahead and close this all up and, you know, get him out of there. And I immediately recognize that we need to end this lesson, wrap it up, and get this guy, because he's experiencing a trauma response.
Sure. Yeah.
And I ran up to my neighbor, just let him know. My neighbor was so apologetic. He was like, bro, I'm so sorry if you call me or whatever, but we can't control the world, you guys. And that's the other thing about this, is that's why we train our dogs to exist in the world with us, is because we're going to encounter chaos.
Yeah.
And whether or not we are emotionally healthy, emotionally stable, or mentally healthy, mentally stable, we're still going to get triggered, and you know, but there's just the depth of the degree of that with somebody who has issues is much more greater. You know,
sure.
So it's one-on-one basis. Do you fire clients? Frick yeah. And that's what, do you ever fire clients that don't do the homework? That's what you were just talking about, kicking them out of the class.
Very, very rarely do I fire a client in private lessons. It's probably only a very small handful in our entire career with private lessons, because usually, you know, we can have a real heart-to-heart because we're one-on-one.
Yeah.
And usually what happens is if they're literally not doing the work, some of them just stop coming. They just like, I spent the money and this is not what I want to do. And they if it's an 8-lesson private lesson program, maybe they do 6 lessons and they decide they're done. They're on to more important things in their life, you know? So a lot of those people don't need to be fired. They sort of resolve that issue on their own. And then with my group classes, like I explained before, I don't really fire them. I just remove them from the group class setting, and they become an online remote student. They still do the work. They just can't be in my class physically.
I sit them down at a board table, and I actually I dress like Donald Trump, and I say, "You're fired." And I'm just kidding.
You led me there. I thought you were serious at first. I was
like, so badass if I did. I work a lot of military veterans and elderly with disabilities. I do still teach the same way. Yeah, well, I think the truth still is there, right? It's just a delivery and approach, and the training methods are customized to meet their needs, and absolutely private, because I mean, it's also a very sensitive situation too. Like if we're dealing with somebody with, you know, it's a private manner, right? That's what I would assume that to be. So man, I think that we've been chatting for over an hour and a half. I want to tell people. So, what is your website? I want to post it up here for everybody.
Yeah, it's letter K, number 9, command.com.
And what is your OnlyFans page?
I'll send that to you. I'll send that to you privately. Remember, you told me don't wear pants on this video. No, you did tell me that. So, you know, I mean, I got Crocs on. I got my Crocs on, but I don't have pants on.
Good. So. What a Croc. No, I do this to entertain myself. Just so you know, I'm my biggest fan of like I just send people random messages that are, and I don't like when I want to say JK, LOL. Those are the best because you don't say anything, right? You just let it be. Yeah. And So yeah, North Carolinians. Do you ever do any like Zoom or remote for anybody that might not be in your area at all?
Yeah, well, I do a remote learning class, very similar to ISTA. So I do the
Cool.
same basic things. I do a beginner, novice, and a novice online program. I do online consults if somebody from a distance wants to discuss their issues that they're having. I can do like a 45-minute consult. I don't do a lot of those though. But yeah, and so yeah, caninecommand.com. That's our website. We're most active on our Facebook page, which is just Facebook, / Canine Command. So you can kind of see what we're doing more on the Facebook page.
Cool. And then don't forget about Science is Golden, Duct Tape is Silver. And we have I've got to shout out my
yeah, go ahead, man.
So this is the Patreon, but you guys, I'm wearing my Fire Pod. Do you ever do slap mills at all?
I've wanted to forever, and I just never made the investment.
Well, if you guys want to make the investment, I'm going to put in the link below. I love FirePod, George and those guys. They're actually right next to Ukraine right now, and that's what's been going on, is that they've actually been dealing with the war right next door to them. So they could actually use some help, and I have an affiliate link down below in the comments, firepod.eu, reference 70, or just to let them know that Bow Wow Bill sent you. You'll never catch me in Crocs. LOL. Dude, I love my Crocs.
Oh, man, it's a trainer's footwear. Come on.
It's the best, especially the one with the strap on the back, the 4x4 mode.
Well, I use the strap on the back when I'm doing long line work, days 3 through 6.
There you go.
And then I can go casual after that.
Yeah, totally. And then you guys go to YouTube and subscribe. Y'all rock. Thank you, Chrissy. All right, you guys. And Mark, stay right there. Well, we'll say goodbye to everybody here, and then I'll say goodbye to you in the studio.
All right.
Bye, everybody. Oh, wait, here. Bye, everybody. There he goes.